All right. All right, looks like we're live. We are going to pick right back up where we left off last week and talk about diminished. So I'm going to do a quick recap of diminished stuff, and then we will jump into some of the stuff I talked about last week, showing you maybe a couple patterns, but also just really reiterating how the diminished works, how to find it easily, how to resolve it. And then next week, we'll probably go into either more of the 5-chord stuff, since 2 weeks ago we did all the 2-chord stuff, and then we did 5, last week and this week, but we're focusing on diminished. Maybe we'll do some more 5, dominant stuff. But if you want something different next week, we can always talk about the 1-chord and different major language we can make up and figure out. So let's do a quick recap of the diminished scale. All right, so if we're talking about the diminished scale, hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Forgot to do a mic check. If we're talking about the diminished scale, there's 3 diminished scales. So remember, there's only 3 because each one of the scales is for 4 different chords or 4 different, keys. So let's talk about C7. We're going to build C7 diminished scale, and I'm talking C7 playing in C7 in tenor key. So if we're talking about the diminished scale C7, it sounds like this. This is the half whole diminished. So if I start on C, we go from there. Oh, I still have this written. This is awesome. Hey Tracy, I literally just started. I was a little late today, so I'm doing a quick recap of the diminished stuff, and then we're going to jump into a little bit more diminished this week to kind of tie out the diminished. Now, before I forget, I do have a book called The Complete Diminished Guide, and it should be in the link below. If any of you have other questions, please feel free to ask. That book is pretty much explains everything I'm explaining in these last couple weeks. Plus, it has more examples, some examples, but I'm going to jump into that in a little bit. So I'm going to be playing this scale that diminishes the half whole, and I'll play it from C, and I'm going to play it, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll jump into some of the next kind of stuff that we didn't do last week. If you missed last week, that was week 18. Can't believe this is week 19 already. If you missed last week, check it out. It's a little bit longer, but you could skip around and grab the meat and potatoes or whatever that's called of it, and go from there. So let me play that scale real quick. All right, and it sounds like this. All right, I'll play it down. All right, so that's just the diminished scale. So now that scale, remember, that works for 4 different chords. So that's C. It also works for E flat, C7, E flat 7, F sharp 7, or G flat 7, however you want to think of it, and A7. So, right, and that's actually a diminished 7th. So the diminished is amazing because there's so much symmetry involved with it, and it's because it's all minor thirds, and even the sounds that you get from it are very symmetrical. Like, for instance, that one has C, E flat, F sharp, and A, right? And if we think about those, just make those into 2 different things, right? We have C and F sharp, which is a tritone apart, and we have E flat and A, which is a tritone apart. So it has 2 tritones in it, which is pretty cool. And that's for every single one. So I would suggest learning your C. We can just call it, we'll just say C diminished scale, your D flat or C sharp diminished scale, and your D diminished scale. Now here's something kind of crazy. Let me get this back out. Now, when we talk about C, we talk about C diminished, right? So we have C, E flat, F sharp, A, right? That's a diminished 7th chord. But check this out. We have D flat or C sharp, E, G, and B flat. It's kind of weird doing this backwards. Anyways, that's another diminished chord. So there's actually 2 diminished 7th chords for every diminished scale, which is kind of cool. That just fell. Which is kind of cool when you think about it. So we're actually getting this diminished chord, seventh chord, but there's also this diminished chord in there, diminished seventh chord, fully diminished. So there's actually two fully diminished seventh chords in each diminished scale, which is pretty cool. Hey, Michael, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining. Um, hello. All right, so let's talk about some diminishing. So now that you know that the scale, you can play a fully diminished chord. You know how to resolve it. Like remember we talked about resolving it last week. If you want to think about it real quick, a C7. If you start on E, right, and you take that up to the flat nine, right. So that's your diminished sound, and then you can resolve from there, right. Um, So that's where you get that other fully diminished. So that's 3, 5, flat 7, flat 9, and then I'm resolving to the 5 of the one chord, which is C, and the one chord would be F there. So I'm taking third to C. Right. Um, okay, so with that being said, that was kind of a quick recap of last week and some of the stuff I touched on. This week we're going to talk about maybe some patterns, right? So some patterns you can start like if we're talking about C7, you can start on the 1, right? And you can go down. This is a pretty common one, so I'm going to go down a whole step, and I'm focusing on the C, E flat, F sharp, and A, and I'm going to go down a whole step from each of those target notes, and this is what it sounds like. Right, that's a whole step. I'm going up to E flat now. I'm going up another to the next note, which is the F sharp. I'm going to go up to the A now. Right, so let me put that all together. So all I'm doing is going up in minor thirds, and I'm descending a whole step each time I go up a minor third. So it sounds like this. Right, sound familiar? It might sound familiar to some of you, it might not, but that's a very common sound that you might hear. You might hear in a solo, you might hear it obviously more hidden than that. It might just be in there. It might be just a little chunk of it. Now, if we descend that, so if we start from up top, maybe we start at the A, but we go down, we do the same thing. We go. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to go ba da, but then I'm going to jump back up to the C. So I'm going to go A, C. All right, and then I'm going to go F sharp, A. Then I'm going to go E flat to F sharp. All right, so it sounds like this. Right, you see where this is going? So, and that might be also another familiar sound. That is, Train made that really, 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 kind of to the forefront of like, wow, that is a really cool sound. I'm sure people were using diminished before Train, but Train had such an amazing facility with this sound and could just play, and his technical ability was also, as you all know, amazing and just, um, you know, unmatched by many people, even to this day. So spend some time thinking about the sounds of these things that you can put together. Now there's 100 different diminished licks that you can play and figure out, and patterns and I don't want to make this into that. I really want to make this into the understanding and the hearing of the diminished sound. So for instance, you know, I I was exploring the diminished sound and I came up with this. Now this is a tritone thing. So remember we have two tritones in each fully diminished chord, right? So for this one we have C, E flat, F sharp, and A. C and F sharp is a tritone, E flat and A is a tritone. So I was one day I was in here playing around with sounds, trying to hear this, trying to make up something that I would like, and also that I might play over a chord progression. So I was exploring, and this is what I came up with. And so I'm starting on the 3 of C. So I'm thinking of this as, you can think of this a lot of different ways. I'm just going to play it, and I'm going to kind of let you guys maybe rewind and transcribe it. I'll play it slow enough, and I'll do a little explanation, but I don't want to do too much explanation. I really want you to get this in your ears. So this is what it sounds like. Right? And I can keep going up. All right, so I'm going to play it again slower. This time I'm going to start. Instead of playing this. So what I did there is I was going back and forth between C and F sharp. Now I'm going to go back and forth between E flat and A. So the other two tones of that fully diminished that we were just talking about. And it sounds like this. Here we go. Right? I'm gonna play it again slowly. Oh, gotta get up there. A little sharp on that. And that was like high A up there. So think about that. Like that's just I'm just moving it. And I actually, it's on one of my 2 5s. I wish I knew which one exactly. But I made this into part of a 2 5 line. Like I used this idea, or this was the inspiration of the idea. And so if we think of this in a if we start extrapolating these ideas, we have, not only do we have, those tritones in there, those 2 tritones, but we also have all of those chord tones, right? That C, E flat, F sharp, and A. Those are actually all major triads too in the diminished. Okay, this stuff can really just blow your mind up. Now take a look at this. Now if you're a visual person like myself and you need to write this stuff out, write it out and get it in your ears. But look at this. C, E, G. That's a major triad. Look at the F sharp. F sharp. This also can be an A sharp, right? And this over here can also be a C sharp. That's another major triad. Check this out. E flat, G, B flat. There's another major triad. Here's A. Same thing, A. This is C sharp over here, and E. It's another major triad. So you have 4 major triads. Guess what? You also have the same minor triads. C, E flat, G, E flat, F sharp. It can also be G flat, B flat, right? F sharp, A, C sharp. Another minor triad. And then one more. We got A, C, and E. So all of these, boom, all of those right there, you can make major triads, minor triads, tritones. This is also, you also have the whole diminished scale. You have 2 fully diminished sevenths in this scale. This can take you down a rabbit hole. What I would suggest is getting the sounds that you like in your ear and under your fingers, and figuring out, and then going from there and figuring out what you like the best, and start implementing it into your practice. Implement it into the blues. The blues has all 7th chords. It's also the most, I guess you could say, it's one of the best kind of canvases to try new stuff out, because it has dominant 7th chords all over it, right? Every chord in there is a dominant 7, unless you're playing like, it's got the 2 chord right on bar, what is it, bar 9, right? And that's a minor chord. So but the rest of them are pretty much dominant 7th chords. So you can try this stuff over it and really feel free about it. And then exploring from there, right? So you can play stuff like this. If I'm playing C7, into F major, I could play this, and I can use A major triad to get to F to F. I'll use A major triad over the C7 to get into F, and I'm going to do a leading tone into the C sharp, the third, right? Um, yeah. Tracy just wrote, or use the bridge to rhythm changes to test this stuff out on. Yes, the bridge to rhythm changes is all dominant chords, and it's moving in fourths, right? Um, it's basically like a big 3 6 2 5, but it's dominant, 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 dominant. So yes, you can do that too. Good call, Tracy. I didn't even think of that. I always just think of the blues as like the template, but 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 yeah, you could literally, yeah, you could, you know what would be a good idea is if you do it over rhythm changes, you have 4 chords that you're working over, and then you can, if you're playing on like I real B or whatever, just go up a half step, then you got 4 more chords, go up another half step, you got 4 more chords, and then you're done. So you got all 12 right there. So again, playing A major, right? Because remember, A major is one of the major triads we can use over this, and I'm using A major over C7, which is going to give me, and I've been over this before, it's going to give me a couple of color tones. It's going to give me the flat 9 over C7, and it's also going to give me the 13, the natural 13, and it's giving me the third, right? E is the third of C7. But if I do a leading tone into the third of A, right? And those last 2 notes were me, that was me resolving to F major. So C7 goes to F. C7 is the 5. We're going to the 1, which is F, and I'm playing a leading tone into the third. Remember, I'm using A over C7 because I'm just using diminished ideas, right? Right. I could do the same thing with F sharp if I want, which is going to give me a couple other color tones, and I'll do the same thing. All right, that one's a little bit different for the ears to hear. Let me see if I can change it. A little nicer, that one. I like that better. So I'm playing a leading tone into the third of F sharp, excuse me. I'm playing a leading tone in the third of F sharp major triad. I just enclosed the 1. Right? I could do the same thing with E flat. This is the last chord I'll do it on. Because remember, I can play E flat major over C7 because it's part of the diminished, right? So that's taking me to the 5 of F. So let's see if I can change that a little bit. And this is the trial and error part. Like, what sounds good to my ears? That sounded okay. Maybe I want to play. Maybe I want to do this. I like that a little bit better. Let's see if we can go up now. Maybe we go up. Like nice chromatic up to the 1. I like that too. It all is what pleases your ears, and also, I'm not playing with time. I'm just playing with sounds right now. Normally, I would want to figure out what rhythmic element of how do I fit this in. Do I want to use a triplet? Do I want to use syncopation? There's a whole rhythmic element that I'm not talking about that I would love to touch on, but I only have so much time on these live sessions. But I promise you, when I have more time, I will make full length videos that you guys can get, chunks of these things. And but I just haven't had the time to really put out that much content, which I apologize for. But I'm trying to make it here every Tuesday to make it up to you guys. So that's going to be like, I think that's so much information about diminished. Like we're going on 50 minutes, 50 full minutes, including last week of diminished stuff, diminished things to think about. You could spend the next 6 months on this stuff. It really is quite amazing. I still revisit this stuff. I still try to think about things in this way, but really trying to hear them. I'm not just thinking. I'm also connecting how I think about it, but also connecting it to my ears so I can hear it. So I'm not just when I'm soloing and improvising, like I'm not thinking, right? I do all that stuff in here, but when I'm free and I get to blow, it's all coming out because I've put the time in to think about it and hear it, and then it's coming out in whatever way it's manifesting. So, any questions before I say goodnight and sign off? If any of you think of any questions before next week, feel free to DM me at Chris G Sachs on Instagram. You can also email me, whichever is easiest. I'm sure if we're friends or something on Facebook, you can DM me there. Whatever your preferred, DM. Hey Tracy, thanks so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope this clears up some things for you and gives you some like food for thought and stuff to like think about when you're shedding. I would, for everybody else out there, and Tracy, of course, I would pick one element of this to focus on, whether it be like I'm going to play a diminished pattern and think about what chord this goes over, or I'm going to think about this, like I said before, playing a A major triad over C7. Like I'm going to think about that I would focus on one thing at a time. Um, Yeah, now the time is needed. Yeah, yeah, just it's spending time with this stuff and getting really comfortable, because you're gonna get to the point, all of you are gonna get to the point where you're gonna see a C7, or you're gonna hear a C7. Better off you're hearing a C7, um, and you're automatically, your ears are gonna go to like that A major sound. I know that's one of my favorite things to use, so that's why I like talking about the A, that A major triad over C7. I know there's also another wonderful YouTuber out there named Dave Pollock who also loves using that. Me and him have chatted about this before in the past, and it's just a beautiful sound. I love that sound. There's so many great sounds that you can explore with this, and now you have all the tools. Now hopefully you have a clarity of this and you can use it. And if you don't, um, I'm available, so send me a message and be like, yo Chris, you didn't do I didn't get everything you were saying. I know I talk fast. I know I was trying to get through everything. I was trying to make this under 30 minutes, which so far we're going good, and I'm going to let you all go. So until next time, just remember, shed your diminished stuff. No, just kidding. Just remember, always positive, always progressing. And I will see you next week. Later.